Hey y'all, what's happening? Oh, it's 6 o'clock, 6:03. All right, how are y'all doing? Ugh, ugh. On this Saturday, September 26th, 2 days before my 37th birthday. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling fantastic. Motivated, strong, just a wealth of positive emotions today. I guess because I actually was productive today. I went out and I recruited some participants for my study. Not only did I recruit, but I collected data as well. So I'm moving towards my goal for my dissertation. That's always a great thing. PhD students know what I'm talking about. Like, that's always a wonderful thing when you're making progress, because the goal is to get it done successfully, and I'm not letting up. Even though it's been a journey with collecting this data, I'm not letting up. I'm sticking to the plan. I'm sticking to it. I love my research, by the way. Like, my research allows me to delve into an arena that I feel very passionate about, which you guys know obviously is Black identity, acculturation, implicit racial bias, just things relating to race politics, basically. And, just to be able to have direct contact with members of the Black community, and a very diverse Black community of people, that just enlivens me. Like, it invigorates me. It makes me feel really good. It makes me feel that I am doing very purposeful work. So I'm very happy. And not only that, I also get to work with the little kiddos, because part of my research actually looks at implicit racial bias in preschool children. So, that's part of my sample, working with the little kiddos and their parents. So I feel good. I feel that I'm on the right track, and I feel that I'm making progress. So I guess that's the reason why I feel good. But I've been motivated to do this video in particular on alpha men. I mean, this is a topic that isn't going anywhere. It's kind of like, it's ever present when it comes to relationship dynamics between men and women. And I think it's amazing. It's interesting to really see the evolution of interpersonal relationships. And we're talking about men and women, because we know how it was back in the day, right? Men were the head of the household. Not just in a social sense, right? But in a financial sense. And I guess we had reasons for that, right? Reasons for men taking the head of the household, because men were the workers and women had their role domestically in the household. And so, of course, with industrialization, women getting rights and being afforded the same opportunities as men, obviously to work get in the workplace, get in the workforce, and take these same jobs that men are taking and making money, bringing home the bread. Women feel empowered, right? It changes the dynamic. And all right, sorry guys, it's weird. I've been getting these like Amber Alerts just spontaneously out of nowhere. So hopefully we can get through this broadcast without any interruptions or any more interruptions, because like that was yesterday. I got like 2 fucking Amber Alerts, and they're not telling me the vehicle. Usually they say the vehicle, but I guess this is New York City. But people still drive in New York. I don't know. But anyway. So, yeah, it kind of, it stuns me to see how people, sometimes men especially, don't really quite get how a change that kind of impacts, like, this dynamic. Like, money plays a major role when it comes to dynamic, the power dynamic in a relationship, right? And it's like men still want to hold onto this masculine power, but at the same time, they have this expectation that a woman should contribute to the household 50-50, right? So with that, it's like a parallel process happening, right? I got my ginger shot. I love these ginger shots. This is just one of my favorite. But with that, when it comes to financial contribution, if it's going to be 50-50, that changes the power dynamic. It's just inevitable. And it's funny because I've done a video, I've done this kind of video on this topic many times over. And I remember a woman commenting, and she said on my post, she was like, oh, well, you know, I contribute 50-50 to my household with my husband. And it's always somebody that tries to like refute, you know, your point that you're making, right? She's like, yeah, you know, we've been married many years. I contribute 50-50. And I still allow my man to be dominant and take the lead and da-da. I was like, okay, good for you. But it changes things, right? It does change the dynamic. When a woman is expected to pay, not only towards the household, right, finances, right, but even outside the household, right, especially going on dates, it's like, that it changes things. Men, you want to see, just do an experiment. And for the beta men, because it's usually the beta males out there that tend to have like this, tend to embrace this modernized philosophy of 50-50. I challenge the beta males to take an experiment, to try this experiment to see how taking full responsibility, we're talking about financial responsibility in your household, or if you're on the dating scene, you know, you're exploring your options. While you're on the dating scene, consider taking full responsibility and to just see how that changes the dynamics. Because I can get on here all day and talk about, oh, it changed the dynamics, but sometimes experience is the best teacher. And when you can put yourself in that experience and be able to witness firsthand how it changes things, then it will begin to make sense to you. Men, beta men. But I find it also interesting to see the general consensus of how people tend to define what an alpha male is. Now, my definition, and the general definition, is really, you know, a man who kind of takes charge. He's a dominant male in society. He holds a dominant status in society. And we're not talking about an asshole, right? We're not talking about men that just want to be bossy and things like that. But no, with status comes like responsibility. And you hold certain characteristics that afford you that rightful place, right, of being able to be in position in society, in your social group, to be that dominant person. And usually that dominance reflects in not only their professional or work environment, but it reflects in many different facets of your life, especially when it comes to the dating scene or marriage. You know, I say the dating scene because I'm on the dating scene, but you know, for the people who are married and have settled down, it will reflect in that relationship that you have with your partner, your significant other. When you look at these alpha men, right, you can tell, like, I can tell very easily when I'm out in public and I see a couple, right, man and a woman, like, you can just tell certain mannerisms, behavioral characteristics that you can observe and tell who wears the pants in that relationship. It's just a dead giveaway. And so, yeah, like I was saying, my definition of a dominant man or an alpha male would be a man who's dominant. You know, a man who people look up to. Like, he's a leader. You know, he has these characteristics that put him in position to be at the top. Not only in his work, but especially at home. I associate positive characteristics with the term alpha male. But then there are some, because I guess, you know, there's always a group of people that fuck it up for everybody and give any label a bad name, right? So here we're looking at alpha. It's a construct. It's a term. It's a label. And I would say it's a good label, right? It's a good thing to be an alpha male, right? But then you got some men who claim to be alpha, and they just fuck it up for all the other true alphas and give alpha men a bad reputation. Same thing with the doms and BDSM, right? You got true doms, true organic doms, right? Natural doms. And then you got the wannabe doms. And so you got the wannabes that come in and they say, oh, I'm alpha. That's where you get the term hypermasculinity. Because it's interesting when you look up what does alpha male mean to define it. And then you see these negative connotations associated with alpha male. It's like, to me, it's disappointing. It's just like, what? Like, why are y'all assigning these negative labels to alpha men? Hyper masculine, as if it's a bad thing to be masculine. Hyper masculine, aggressive. Like, seriously, is that how they view alpha men? It's almost as if they're trying to create this narrative around alpha male to turn people away from that, to say that men should not be alpha. I don't like that, because I love alpha men. I do. Now, granted, we all come with our advantages, disadvantages. We all come with our strengths and our so-called areas of improvement. I don't want to say weaknesses. We'll say areas of improvement, things that we can work on. Alpha men are no different. And what really, I won't say initially, but what kind of triggered this video today, because I've been thinking about this, and of course this is a topic that's ever present in conversations that I've had on the dating scene, videos that I've made, my interpersonal interactions with men. But what kind of triggered this was a conversation I had with my dad today. My dad. I love my dad so much. Okay, so he just had a birthday less than a month ago, right? He turned 79. And I was speaking to my dad today, and I offered to send him some money. Like, Dad, I want to send you some money. That's what children should do, right? Like adult children, being taken care of by our parents. All this while, there comes a time where the roles get reversed, and now it's time for the children to provide for their parents who have taken care of them. That's just what I wanted to do, right? And so I asked, my dad's like, Dad, I'm gonna send you some money. He was like, oh, no. He said that so quick. No. I'm like, Dad, come on. But then it reminded me, my dad, definitely being an alpha male. My dad is over 6 feet tall. My dad is he handled his shit. He's always been that manly man kind of man, the traditional man, right? Which that's why I think I'm attracted to alpha men, because my dad, like they say, a woman is usually attracted to the characteristics that embody her father, right? So it's no surprise that I am attracted to alpha men, because that's the characteristic that my dad has. And he was the first man to show me love, genuine love, right? I grew up in a household with my dad and my mother, of course. So yeah, I look for that characteristic in men, alpha men, just a man who just can provide, and that shit turns me on. A man who's a provider. But our society is so warped to the point where that ideology has been so freaking revamped, reconstructed, to the point where a woman mentions that, oh, she wants a man to be a provider. Men interpret that as, oh, she's a gold digger. So they assign these negative labels to kind of discourage women from seeking an alpha male. And I'm just like, that's only natural. Why wouldn't I want to be with an alpha male? I mean, granted, I consider myself a bit of an alpha female. I have some dominant traits about me. But when it comes to my characteristic when I'm with a man, of course, it just happens naturally when I'm around an alpha male, I just automatically go into submissive mode. That's just, without even thinking, it just happens now. I see that happening, like, it's just like, I find myself like in awe. Like I see it happen, even just daily interactions that I encounter with men, you know, even recently today, like, just talking to men, just like I see myself like kind of taking that submissive role and softening my tone, you know. It's amazing just to see that. It's like, wow, just like a butterfly. Just, I don't know. So, yeah, that's why, you know, I look for that trait in men. And I received a comment recently on one of my videos. Which video was it? Was it my cuckold video? One of my, I get so many comments on different videos on my YouTube channel. It was one of my videos. And a woman said, alpha man, you know, it's hard to find that. It's hard to find that in our society, you know, real alpha man, because it's just you know, men just ain't alpha no more. And like every time I have this conversation, like with you guys, like I am easily reminded of that meme. I know you guys seen it by now. That meme with the lion. They have like a lion, right? It's two lions, so it's one at the top, one at the bottom. And then basically it's showing a contrast, like the dichotomy between men back in the day and men in the modern day, right? Then in the back in the day picture of the lion is represented like, you know, strong and full figured, you know what I'm saying? Like he's a true lion. And then the one at the bottom is like emaciated, like this motherfucker scrawny, like you could tell like something ain't quite right. And then he has his hair like in a ponytail. You know, it's just, I know, I get it, right? There's this thing called gender fluidity, right? So people, men and women, are allowed to be who they want, what they want, whatever they want to be. He or she, it, trans female, trans male, whatever, like, we are supposed to respect that. But it doesn't take away from our own natural proclivities, you know, as human beings. Like, I have a proclivity as a woman to be attracted to an alpha male, and that's just what it is, and I don't apologize for that. And I embrace and appreciate characteristics consistent with alpha men, you know. So yeah, my dad was like, no. But when he said that today when I was on the phone, he was just like, no, you don't just send me no money. I was like, but I know that, but I want to. Like, it's like, no. It's like, I got it. It just kind of reminded me, like, of just how alpha men are. Like, alpha men are providers. Like, they would rather take care of women. But I wonder, you know, because my dad, he has some sons, too. And I'm wondering, like, what if it was his son that offered him? He probably would take it if it was his son. See, I already know how to do it. I'm going to have to just sneak it on in there. Not ask, not mention it. Just slide it on in there, right? That's how I got to do it. But yeah, it just reminded me of how y'all alpha men are, like y'all. And I dated an alpha male, you know, and I like it. I mean, that's what was one of my longest relationships, you know, where like, yeah, he was a sole provider. That's what he wanted to do, you know. It's like that was his thing. You know, that's what made him feel like a man, you know, and traditionally that's what men did. Men took care of the household, men paid the bills. It's not to say that women don't have her own income and women is not contributing. Of course, like when it came time for us to travel, guess who paid for the trip? I did. I paid for the trip from New York to Florida to Georgia and places that we went. So that's how that goes, and food and just different miscellaneous stuff around the house, like, of course. But just when it comes to the general household financial responsibilities, that's just That's what men do, and men don't have a problem doing that. Men, that's part of like their identity in a way, right? Alpha men, like they take pride in making money, first of all, like being able to pull in resources so that they can survive, and not only that, but their family that they create is well taken care of. Like that's part of a male's alpha. I have to be specific, an alpha male, because we know there are many different flavors of men that exist, but that's just the hallmark of an alpha male. If there's anything that is short of that, he feels incompetent. He feels like he's not measuring up, you know? And it does start to affect his psyche when an alpha male is not able to provide not only for himself, but also for his family. That's why when you look at, you know, certain dynamics within the black community, and you see, like, you know, men, or, you know, XY chromosome beings that call themselves men, that abandon their children, abandon their responsibility, you know, don't feel that they have a commitment or responsibility to the mother of their child. You just ask yourself, like, how? Like, is there nothing, doesn't, like, there isn't, like, a nerve, like, struck inside of you that says, like, damn, like, you know, you think, like, I know I'm a woman, right? But I'm thinking, like, if, you know, thinking from a man's perspective, an alpha man, and I'm like, damn, if I wasn't able to provide for my family, I'll be like, damn, like, kind of heartbroken or hurt, you know, just, like, feeling very uneasy. But then you see these men that they just carry on like it's nothing. Like, life is just business as usual, life as usual, you know. But it's a generational thing. That's how you gotta look at it. It's a generational, multi-generational, or intergenerational thing that you see happening. So a lot of those same men who I just described will to come to their own defense and say, oh, well, my mom was a single mother, you know, was no man in the house that I grew up in. My mom worked 2 and 3 jobs and she paid all the bills, and they just repeat that same cycle because that is what has become the norm. And just because something is the norm doesn't mean it's okay. Teenagers turning to drugs and alcohol even before they turn 18, right? That is the norm. But does that mean that it's healthy and right? A lot of things are so-called normal because you see a common occurrence of this issue in many people, but does it mean that it's okay? We have to be able to differentiate between the two, because sometimes people get it fucked up and you're not even aware, self-aware, like you're repeating these very toxic patterns that you pass down from one generation to the next. I definitely, as myself, you know, a single woman, no kids, like I'm not trying to, like, who wants to be in a dysfunctional relationship and carry out dysfunctional patterns? That ain't what I'm about. It's just like, that's counterintuitive to who I am. And that goes against everything that all my values and everything I've learned and everything. Right? It's like, that would just be me, like, crumbling. You know, like, no. So people ask me sometimes, well, why are you single? Like, yo, look at the context. Look at our society, you know. Now, not to say there aren't some available men who qualify. There are, but, you know, do they have kids? Because that's another thing. I got this thing where, you know, men who got kids, I be wondering, like, why did you just create a family and you're not taking care of your family? And yet you're trying to meet a new woman and create a whole new family. That often is my concern when I come across men who already have a family. And I consider it a family. They say, oh, I have kids. No, you have a family. It's broken, but you have a family. That's just the reality of it. When you pregnate, when you inseminate a woman's egg, you fertilize this egg. She carries the baby full term, delivers the baby. You have a family. That's a family. It's broken. It's dysfunctional, but it's a family, you know? It's dysfunctional in the sense that, okay, you're no longer with her. For whatever reason, I'm not here to judge, right? But I'm just saying, like, I want to bring to people's awareness is, like, we talk about the problems in the black community, and oftentimes, what do? We blame the system. We blame the white man. We blame white supremacy. But how much about the problems that exist within the black community do we take responsibility for? Or we continue to perpetuate these same cycles over and over again. It's just like, come on, I'm not the one to be blaming white supremacy for everything. Yes, you can acknowledge that we live in this fucking racially oppressive society that creates these barriers, you know, to access, right? That creates these inequalities. But at the same time, it's not of my belief to blame the white man for everything, right? Because who has to take, we have to take responsibility. You can say, okay, well, this is what caused this, right? From a systemic perspective. But when it comes to taking responsibility for your own life as an individual, like that's in your hands. You have to take responsibility. You own that. It's your life. And you got to find a way to reverse these problems and be conscious. So that's what it's about. Alpha man, though, I love me some alpha man. It just does something to me when I'm around alpha man, you know. Healthy, of course, alpha man, because there's an unhealthy perspective in everything. And that's the reason why, unfortunately, they create these negative stereotypes. Alpha men. Bad apples, giving the good apples a bad rep. And that's what it's about. But yeah, I love alpha men. I want you guys to share your comments below. Let me know what you think. I'm pretty sure you have a lot to say. I have a lot to say about this topic, but I just want to kind of peek in and share that much. And I'll catch you guys later.